The 10 Stories for 10 Years events. This is the BFI Film Academy, hosted by the Nerve Centre here in Derry, is reaching its 10th anniversary. So hundreds of students have had the chance to benefit from hands-on filmmaking projects and receive masterclasses and workshops from top industry leading professionals. So to help celebrate this milestone in the Academy, we're looking back at some of the past alumni from the courses who've been going on to forge a strong name for themselves in the creative industries. So our first event is an in-depth Q&A with our BFI graduates and young filmmakers, Duddy and Tiarnan McCartney. The two have just completed work on their film Mudslingers, which was one of the Northern Ireland Screen's 2021 short film focus recipes. Oh my God, that word, sorry about that. So we'll just talk through, the layout today is that we're going to showcase the show reels, and then we're going to go through a wee Q&A. So any questions that you have, pop them into the chat box and we'll get them answered for you. And then to finish up, we'll be screening a work in progress cut of Mudslingers and discussing the university paths available, and how to get your short films out there and how to get those all important first professional credits in the industry. So just an overview of Bfi Scene. These are events that take place at cinemas or online, like today across the UK, where young filmmakers show their films and answer questions about their work, giving a unique opportunity to learn from filmmaking peers. Each event is followed by networking opportunities, so we'll have some opportunities for you to look at as well. So I'm just going to share a screen and we're going to show Katie's reel first from Bit in the Whale.
Shit.
What was Alex like on set? Seemed to get on with him.
Alex was refreshing, for sure. And I think he was the only one who understood my creative process. Tiarnan, he's the director. He didn't understand a thing I was trying to do.
It is a good idea, okay? Don't listen to them.
How can I not?
Just pretend that it didn't happen.
How do you do it, Alex?
Do what?
I mean, you don't let anything get to you, do you?
Well, no, not if I can help it. But it's not exactly difficult. We can all do it if we really want.
But how? What's your secret?
Right. Love, right, that's what they do down at Silicon Valley. They're all clever, they all know what's what.
Mate, what are you talking about?
Okay. Have you ever listened to Dark Side of the Moon?
Yeah, but what? Do I need to get some help?
No, Seb, listen, you're not hearing what I'm trying to say. LSD, right? You know what that is.
Like acid LSD?
Exactly. Because I'm telling you, the Beatles did not write Sgt. Pepper on vinegar. That's the secret. That is what you need.
Holy fuck. But how did you get it through customs?
Oh, simple. Oldest trick in the book. You just tuck it in under the cap.
Fucking hell,
They never
man.
think to look under the cap.
A bit faster. That's it. That's it, man. You got it. You got it. Come on. Yes. Woo. Come on, boy. Come on. That's it. Woo-hoo.
Hey, Fahrscheine.
Was?
Fahrschein.
Ja.
Willst du mich verarschen oder was? 2 Tage alt. Komm, raus. Hey, komm kurz mit mir.
Hey guys, this is Ringo.
Hi, Ringo.
Hey, man.
Evening, dudes. How can I be of service?
I just need some lines, but just to get me through the night.
No problemo. I got exactly what you need. Let me see. Yeah, this is it. It's great.
Yeah, let me try it.
Yes, man. You will not be disappointed.
Okay, so if you're American when you go out of the bathroom, and you're American when you go into the bathroom,
Okay.
what are you when you're in the bathroom?
I don't know.
What?
European. European? Man,
Oh man, that one.
This is awful. Didn't you have something else?
Fine. You know. Yeah, maybe this one is more for your taste.
I'm not going to read this. This is very racist.
All right. Thought police.
I love both of them, and like they're both completely different. Considering that we spoke on like the FI Film Academy at the start. But I realised when I was watching that we just went straight under the good stuff and watched everything without doing any introductions. So let's do some introductions. I'm Tamala White, and I'm a local filmmaker in Derry, and I also coordinate the Bfi Film Academy in the Nerve Centre at the moment. And I actually had the pleasure of working with both Katie and Tiarnan on their NI Screen funded short, What's on Yours as their DP. So that was a really great experience, and it's great to see you again. So Katie, after BFI, got her first BBC producer credit with the True North series as a writer and a producer for Face the Music. And in 2018, she took on the role of operations manager and coordinator at eSpirit Film and worked on the likes of Frozen Planet, BBC's Blue Planet Live and One Strange Rock, which is class. Most of the pandemic, she worked as a casting assistant of the extras department in Belfast, and she's also set up Bit on the Well, a production company creating cinematic conservation-based film series and creative content. So that was their reel that you just watched there. And Tiarnan is a writer, director, and performer from Derry, London Derry, having gone through the BFI Film Academy in his teenage years. He progressed the study of film at the University of Bristol. He's written and directed several short films, as you just seen, which have been screened at festivals in Bristol and Berlin. Tiarnan wishes to use his skills to write unique moving drama and comedy productions based in Derry and beyond. So let's get into the Q&A. Let's start off with, how are you, anyways?
All good. Thank you
Lovely.
for having us.
Well, thanks for having us.
Let's just start off with what made you decide to enter the film industry and how did you get started as a filmmaker?
I kind of was always interested in film. I was always interested in storytelling and you know, making little shorts with my brother on a JVC tape camera when we were younger. And then when I left school, I didn't really know what to do. I thought I wanted to be an actor for a while, and then I went to volunteer in Berlin, and it was in Berlin that I came across the Kino Cabaret, which is like 48, 72 hour kind of filmmaking festival where you get loads of amateur and professional filmmakers alike, and they all come together for a week or so just to make films in a really short space of time under a really short budget, and then they all get screened at the end and there's a big party. And it was being in that kind of in that environment where we were constantly filmmaking and the films were getting screened and everyone was working big international group of people, then that was when I kind of decided that's what I want to do. And I decided I wanted to go to Bristol, and I studied film in Bristol there. And yeah, when I was at uni, I kind of, as you've seen, there's like there's a few films there with the same kind of cast. Those are the guys that I met in Bristol, and we just started collaborating pretty much from the moment we met. And you know, we're still making stuff together. And yeah, I'm just still churning out the short films whenever I can.
Class. Like, how important for you did you find that like creative network?
Yeah, big time. Because like at the end of the day, filmmaking is like a collaborative process, and like the bigger the crew, kind of, the better the film is going to be. I think in the early days of me being an amateur filmmaker, I was trying to do everything myself, right? Shoot, direct, edit, and you know, the quality of the production suffers because of that, you know, because you don't have the power to do everything yourself.
I suppose, Katie, you went more on the like documentary and working with people. So you tell me about what happened after BFI Film Academy with your documentary residential and True North production.
Basically, whenever I got into like filmmaking and stuff and got into the BFI, the start, I was always like, I loved like the creative side of things and really enjoyed making the short films and stuff. But at the same time, I was focusing on like a journalism career and like trying to get other people's stories out and get like exposure to these kind of like, not even like news stories, but just personal stories that maybe needed to be talked about more and stuff. So that's where that's kind of what like planted the seed for me. So that made me sign up to the BFI documentary residential, which was held in London. And that was kind of like my first experience of like, I like seeing kind of journalism in that sphere of like filmmaking. And it was just like, I was like, okay, right, this is what I want to do. I want to be able to tell these people's stories, and I just like document things that need to be heard. But that was just amazing. And from that, all these like other ideas were coming on, and I was like turning a mirror into my own self and like asking myself all these different questions. And then whenever I got back to Derry, then I was telling Yvonne, who was coordinating my BFI course at the time, and she put me on to the the BBC's True North short series, which I think they're still running, but this was in 2015, I think, maybe 16. And I had an idea about using music as an alternative to antidepressants, and kind of just like bashed out the wee idea, like put it out on a Word document and like sent it off to BBC. And then this started like a whole big process where like they brought me in and like we envisioned like what it would look like, because I still wanted it to be like visually beautiful. And it was just an amazing experience. It lasted a couple of months and ended up like being aired then on BBC. And it was just crazy that like these opportunities were out there. Like my eyes were just completely opened as soon as I got back from London. I was like, right, I've got all this stuff. I want to do something with it. And Tiarnan actually helped me on that as well. So it's all coming together. But now like 10 years later, I'm working full time with the BBC here in Derry and Radio Foyle. So it all comes back around, and those connections that you make, those impressions that you initially make, like they all stand you in good stead. Like so.
Yes.
How did you adjust to the demands of working in the industry as opposed to education, Katie?
So my only kind of experience of like being in education and studying film was the moving images arts, and I think I may have been the first year group that got the experience that syllabus. But yeah, my first kind of, I suppose, like after the BBC True North shorts, like that was more of like I was really like taken care of and like shown the ropes and stuff. But my first like professional job was with the Sheffield Doc Fest, but that as well was also an internship. So it was nice way to like ease into the industry from education, because the first thing I noticed was like in education, you're kind of like given all these materials, and like you could just turn around to your teacher and be all right, I want to go and make this. I've got this class idea, and then they'll show you how to make it. Whereas when you're in working like professionally in the industry, like you're on a payroll, do you know what I mean? You can't. Well, obviously you can go around and be like, I want to make this idea, but you have to kind of get the materials yourself, if you know what I mean. So the way I adjusted to it was kind of like just learning as much as I could, so then I could trust in myself to like come up with an idea, but also knowing the logistics behind creating that idea, if that makes any sense, because there's a lot more that you have to take into consideration, like budgets, deadlines that you have to work towards. Like you're not allowed to like run away with an idea as much as you are in education. But I mean, it's all good. It's just how it works, and I that's the way I work, is just by structure. So it ended up being better for me. But
I think a lot of time, especially in the creative industries, there's a lot of opportunity for people to learn as you work. Like it's like sort of trying to break down that fear of people going for things, because no matter like what stage you are, you're always going to have to learn something, and there's always going to be people there that know that and more.
The other thing was as well is that like how I definitely adjusted to it was like just not being nervous to ask for help, because like it's not going to take that much time out of someone else's day. And if someone was coming to me now asking for like a wee bit of help, or even just like anything simple, like I would 100% want to help them. Like it's such like, I feel like the film industry as a whole is it's just like such a nice community, and like everyone has been where you are now or where you were, do you know what I mean? So there's just a lot of help out there, and you may as well take it.
Definitely. And the crews and production offices love to see young talent coming on too. They love the enthusiasm and like the passion and the drive. So it's just like a great work and learning environment to go on to. So question for both of you, what was the first thing that made you think, starting to get a hang of this now.
Who's going first here?
Want me to go? I had a look at this question earlier, and I was thinking about it. And for me, I don't know. I think a lot of creatives might be familiar with the cycle of, you know, thinking you're hot shit 1 minute to, you know, suddenly thinking that you can't do anything. And for me, like every film is almost like that a bit. But there's something about, you know, pushing through all that kind of organizational stage and having everything set up. This was like really, for me, magnified with Mudslingers. That was the biggest production that I've ever kind of worked on. And when you push through all that paperwork and all that organization and everyone's on set and things are like actually running smoothly, and it's like a well-oiled machine, that's when you can kind of sit back and go, all right, I think I can do this.
With all due respect, my name is Mary Carson. I know Katie. How you doing? And been working in documentaries and journalism now for decades, as you can tell. I just sort of, that never goes away. That never goes away. You're always like feeling like you're 2 steps behind until it's there. And then you have imposter syndrome because you're quite convinced that the part you played was a black. And that, you know, everybody else got it there except you. But I'm interested in how, if it's all right for me to ask a question. Sorry, I don't know who the moderator is, so I've just, Katie knows I just rant and just sort of interrupt at any given time. It's just, how is it working regionally for you in terms of funding? Because I'm finding, I went to Sheffield Doc Fest this year. I've got a documentary in production with the Doc Society. And although it was much more diverse and it was amazing to see it, no offense to the two to the two men, I'm assuming the men here, who basically, but it was all women, and it had a different atmosphere. There was a different atmosphere. There was more creative meetings. Even the meat market wasn't as cut and thrust and hierarchical as it should have been. However, with all the diversity and with all the women, everybody had that sheen of money. Everybody could afford to be there. What I'm finding now, and I'm based in London at the minute, so I'm wondering how it's different regionally, is that if you come from a working class background, you're black, Asian, whatever, you still do not have access to that unless you come, if you're in Manchester, you want to work in Manchester, you want to work in London, you've no hope of living and working on the wages and the funding that's available. If you do not have parents who back you, or if you're not still living at home. I'm wondering if that experience is different regionally and there is more acceptance and funding for people from whatever walks of life they come from.
Experience from the project that I just recently got funded. That was the first project that I have ever got funded, and I live in Bristol, and yeah. I don't think that I would be able to access funding anywhere else other than Northern Ireland. I think it's maybe a bit underutilized, the funding opportunities in Northern Ireland, that there is money there and people just need to know about it more, and people should apply, like no matter what the kind of idea you have or, you know, what your self-belief is, you should just go and apply.
Yeah. And do you think that there's a wider spread, like it is more available to people from different backgrounds?
I think you're totally right that it's always going to be harder for working class people and people from ethnic minorities and stuff to get their foot in the door. And, you know, there's all these kind of, what I've noticed a lot living over here is there's like a real barrier between people that can afford equipment and people that can't. And if you want to be a freelancer, then you need a camera. And if you can't afford a camera, then you can't be a freelancer. And what other ways are there to, you know, break into the industry as a DOP or something like that if you don't have access to proper equipment?
There's an interesting thing over here, and again, tell me to shut up. And it's called, I think it would be brilliant to set something like this up at home. And it's called the Screen Skills. And basically what they do is they take people who have an interest in working in the media, and they bring them on board and they train them. And each of the company that uses them pays a contribution, a small contribution, 2% of their overall budgets to access a Screen Skills unit. And the Screen Skills unit pays production companies half the money to take these people on to jobs. And the deal is you have to come from a socioeconomic background or a racial background that would not normally get you access to this. You have to be working less than a year officially. I mean, you can be doing running and you can be like sitting in on stuff, but you have to not be paid for a year by the industry. And then they take them on and work with the National Film School and the BFI to train people. And then people like me ring them up and go, we need an editor, which we've just done. We need an edit assistant. Because myself and Leo are self-taught, we came up in our own way through this system. We want to be able to pass that on and pay it forward. And we would like somebody who wouldn't normally have the opportunity of working on a theatrical documentary. And then we pay a percentage and we do the interviews and they pay half the costs. Something like that.
Screen skills is great. We have it here as well. And they also have things like if you're looking to get like some money put towards your driving lessons or getting your license or bits of equipment or training.
That's brilliant.
So it's really something to look out for. And then also NI Screen have just announced like a new skills initiative. So it's called like the Creative Industries New Entrance Scheme. And that involves a 12 to 18 month placement in anything from finance, the camera department, another department. It covers anything, but it's really it's for new entrants. So it's specifically for people from those backgrounds that are mentioned and people that just have transferable skills that are brand new.
Tom, is it okay if I just jump in on a question off the back of that? It's that thing, you know, Tiarnan, you went off to Berlin and you found the thing, and Katie, you went to study in London. How important did you find to go there? And then what was it that brought you back here or going, I want to make stuff in Derry?
What my main intention was with like coming back home was kind of like making programs that wasn't about politics or farming stuff. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I got a wee kind of glimpse whenever I started working with the extras department. Like I got a glimpse into like the talent that there is here and the stories that there is to tell, and I just wanted to be like a part of that. And my other thing was as well, I always go back to it, is that like with the BFI and with studying moving images at school, like it was just proper like nurturing to me. And I've never, whenever I've worked in England, obviously those experiences have been like detrimental to like my career, but I've never been to a place that's been so supportive and nurturing and just like want the best for you. Like there's always that wee air of competition in other places. So I just kind of wanted to come back to that. Just wanted a big hug. That's all it was from the film industry, and I got it.
All right, just continuing from that as well, I think I would agree with Katie and kind of say that I think there's a lot of untapped potential in the north, but more specifically in Derry. You know, we hear a lot about the studios being built in Belfast and all the big productions that keep going there, but for me, like it's I think for me and Katie both, it's stories that are important, and there's Derry people are such witty people, they have such great stories to tell. And I know our film is kind of about paramilitaries in a way, but I do think it's about time we start moving away from that and, you know, start exploring genres that have never been touched, you know, and stuff that has got nothing to do with what happened 30 years ago or whatever.
So let's just maybe talk about Mudslingers and how we got there for Five. So were you working with each other before you done your application, or how did it work?
Can I take this, Katie?
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of found that short film call last minute and just went ahead and applied, and essentially I had to apply as a writer, director, producer duo. And so I applied with Katie and I put all her details in, but I didn't tell her until after I submitted the application. I didn't tell her until a few weeks after, actually. And then they started emailing me back. They started showing interest in the project, and I had to reach out to Katie, and I was like, look, you're producing this film now.
Right. And then what was what was it like? This is the first film that you've shot in Derry in a few years, probably since you were before you went to university.
Yeah.
So what was that like, rallying the troops and Beg, Borrow and Stealing?
Oh my
I
god,
was
there was just like it just like welcomed us with open arms. Like I think we had this conversation, like there was like so many, well not so many things, but like any problem that we had, there was someone like just sitting next to us. It was like, oh, my uncle can do that, or like, oh, I've got this you can use, and just everyone was just so supportive, and I've never experienced that before. It was just amazing. I was kind of like, what do you want? Like, why are you being so nice?
Yeah, it was kind of overwhelming, like the just how ready people were to go out of their way to help us, and yeah, that's like, 'cause I think that's something that is quite unique to a city like Derry. Yeah.
And we have a lot to like thank the Nerve Centre for as well, because like we were given this budget, and I mean we could have definitely like worked on our own from that budget, but it meant that we would have had to hire out kit, not know how to use the kit, find these people, and a lot of like the options that like we were coming up with were like based in Belfast as well. And then I was like, right, I'm just gonna tap into these old contacts that we had. And I mean the Nerve Centre just, they were like a blessing. It was amazing. And then we met Tamla, and just everything just like came together and fell into its own wee place.
Yeah, for that to be 10 years ago, you know, that Peter, I first met you and we had the BFI Academy, for that to come, you know, 10 years later to like such a kind of beautiful full circle was really, really
Emotional.
emotional. It was really encouraging as well, you know, and has really like got me excited about making more films in there.
I know, well, we're not joking when we say that we're going to continue to support the BFI alumni. We're there. Your prep is in the pudding on that one there. So I know sometimes for young filmmakers, like even myself, I can find like putting in an application for something so daunting. How do you get your head around that, and what are you expecting whenever you're doing these applications?
Well, with Mudslingers, as well, I think there's something to be said about just, even if you don't feel totally prepared, if something comes up like a bit of a wall that you're not expecting, then just to kind of go for it anyway, because I wasn't expecting when I did that application, and I'm not the kind of, I don't usually, I'm like a writer and a director and stuff, and I was, suddenly they were asking me for budgets and schedules and all these kind of bits of paperwork, and that was really daunting for me. I was like, oh my god, I don't think I can do this, and I nearly gave up on the whole application. But I ended up submitting it without those documents at first, and I'm so glad that I did, because I nearly gave up, and then I did, and then they came back to me a week later and they were like, you got one more week, where's your budget, where's your schedule? And then that's when I got Katie on board and we collaborated on that. So I think even if, you know, if you've got an idea and you've got faith in it and stuff, just apply. And even if your application doesn't seem perfect or anything, just get your ideas out there, because there's people reading those applications, and if they spot something good, then they'll chase you up on it. That's what I learned.
So I'm just going to move on to like the Q&A from the chat section before we finish up of the teaser for Mudslingers, which I'm so excited for everybody to see. But anyways, I'll contain myself for a wee second. So this question is for you, Tiarnan. It's from Peter, and it says, you have a great ear for dialogue. Is that one of the things that you get most excited about with the script? And also, how did you find adapting that when working with international filmmakers?
Yeah, it's a nice question. It, it generally is the thing I get most excited about when I'm writing a script. I love like, you know, the kind of back and forth, and you're on your own in a dark room, but you're making yourself chuckle. I really love that. And working with actors where English isn't their first language, I thought, especially with the comedy genre, gave you know, some of the lines just punched so much different when someone saying it in a German accent, and I found that quite funny to work with, and it really brought a different kind of life to what was in my head. But it's funny that you say that question, Peter, because Mudslingers, it's got no dialogue in it at all. There's about 2 lines in it, and that's it. And I think it was, for me, it was a real kind of experiment in storytelling in a different kind of way, without exposition, just through the visuals and through the noise and the sound.
What difficulties did you face when you were starting out, and how did you overcome them?
Difficulties I found was kind of deciding on what I wanted to do, basically. Because it's kind of like daunting, kind of going in somewhere without knowing what your next step's going to be, if you know what I mean. Like I don't know, I just got very excited about everything when I joined like the BFI. I got to experience like directing, writing, producing, sound, camera, everything, and I was just like, oh my god, I want to do it all. So I think like a difficulty for me was like, no, well, you can't do it all. I mean, you can, but no, you need to focus on something. But basically then I think like I was quite nurtured into like the role of like producing, and then I was like, right, okay, this is what I can do, then this is what I feel comfortable doing. And then from that, any opportunity that had like come up. So once I moved under the Sheffield Doc Fest, that was as a coordinator as well. And yeah, I just realized that like logistically, that's where all my skills kind of lay, in the logistical side of things. But yeah, getting distracted was kind of a difficulty for me. And then just like trying to keep up the passion as well, because like there is like quite a lot of competition out there whenever you're first starting out. And I just like keeping faith in yourself. Like there is great competition, but like you're great as well. You just need to remember that. So I not being disheartened.
For me, I would say, kind of bringing it back to what Mary was talking about, I think I wouldn't be where I am now if it wasn't for kind of outreach things like the BFI Academy and the residential program, and those kind of opportunities that you can apply for and stuff that show you, even if you can't afford a fancy camera or whatever, there are things that you can do and it is possible. And here's your practical experience that you can take away and use that. So yeah, I think if you're feeling like the film industry is daunting because it seems to be a kind of class of person that is not you, then there are so many opportunities out there, and it's just a matter of going online and searching up, and there's loads and loads of things that you can apply for. And the thing that I think is valued a lot in those applications is just passion and grit and enthusiasm and those kind of things. So yeah, apply, just apply and apply.
Well, on that note, thank you very much. I am going to share the teaser for Mudslingers. But first, do you have any advice for any filmmakers coming up, new filmmakers, or any filmmakers around our age?
Any advice I can give is just literally to like respect everybody. Yeah, like I think everything I've done has been off the back of like making really good friends with someone. Like I set up Buddha and the Whale with a girl that I met at the BFI residential. And that's like one of the biggest parts of my career now, is like working within natural history. And that was just off like a meeting of like just really connecting with someone. So I just not to take every opportunity that you can to network with people, and even if they have like an idea or they're getting into something that you're not that interested in, like respect it, because like maybe a couple of years down the line, like your line manager could turn around to you and be like, oh, we need this person that like owns a boat, or like knows how to, I don't know, talk about this specific type of fish, and you're like, oh yeah, that person from years ago. So just connections is honestly the most important thing, I think. And yeah, just respecting everyone that you can.
So I would agree with that as well. Respect and networking is so valuable. And then I just had two things that I was kind of thinking about, and like for writers or for kind of inception kind of people, it's just ideas, just write them down. Even if it's just one word, just have like your notes on your phone and just write it down, because that's all Mudslingers was. Mudslingers was one word written in my notes that stayed there for about a year until that funding call came up, and then I just knew exactly what to do with that one word. And then the second thing would be just keep your crew happy. Like, even if it's a low budget film, I would say like make that effort to get coffees in the morning or croissants and just keep people fed, and because it really helps with morale, and like the more enthusiastic your crew is, then the better the film is going to be.
So thank you so much for talking to us today. I'm going to share the teaser for you. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much again. And if you would like to stay up to date with the next stories coming up, you can sign up to the Nerve Centre newsletter by going on the Nerve Centre website, which is nervecentre.org. And you can also get us on Facebook and Instagram, Nerve Centre on Facebook, at Nerve Centre on Instagram, and give BFI Film Academy a follow as well, because they always have great labs on as well. Mostly for up to 25, but there's stuff for over 25 as well. It's always worth hearing. So thank you very much. I think we'll just awkwardly wave while everybody goes.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.